The sky turned orange as the twin suns dipped behind the hills. It was a quiet evening in the small alien village of Lyra, surrounded by tall silver trees. Birds chirped gently, and children laughed near the river. One of them, a little girl, named Kiri, ran toward her mother, who was cooking outside their small round house. Her mother, Luma, smiled. She was tall and graceful, her skin soft purple and eyes like glowing emeralds. She bent down and picked up Kiri. "Time to eat," she said, brushing a leaf out of her daughter's hair. But far in the trees, something moved. Luma paused. Her eyes scanned the edge of the forest. The laughter stopped. The birds flew away, Dot, and then it began. A loud whistling sound tore through the air. An arrow struck the wooden table beside them, splitting it in half. Screams followed. Arrows rained from the trees like deadly rain. Houses were hit. Fires started. Panic spread. Raiders. Dark figures wearing rough armor rushed out from the shadows, shouting in a strange tongue. They had sharp weapons and no mercy. Luma didn't think she acted. She grabbed Kiri and ran. But an arrow hit her leg, and she stumbled. Another arrow flew toward them. Luma turned her body and fell over Kiri, shielding her with her own flesh. The arrow struck her back with a sickening sound. Kiri screamed beneath her mother, who now lay motionless, blood soaking the grass. The village burned. The sky filled with smoke. More screams, more chaos. And then everything went silent. Only the crackling of fire and Kiri's soft sobs could be heard. Then, from the thick smoke, a shape appeared. It walked slowly, calmly, like it belonged in the middle of death. Tall figure in black armor stepped through the flames. His face was hidden behind a smooth helmet. His eyes glowed red through the visor. A strange weapon hung from his back, and another rested in his hand. He was human. The raiders paused when they saw him. Some backed away. One shouted and fired. An arrow. It bounced off the man's armor like a toy hitting a wall. He didn't speak. The human lifted his arm. A blue beam of energy shot from his weapon, hitting the attacker and sending him flying. The others tried to run. He didn't let them. The human moved with speed and force that shocked even the bravest raider. Every step was precise. Every shot found its mark. Within seconds, it was over. Smoke drifted around the field. Bodies lay silent. The human turned toward the small form lying in the grass. Luma and Kiri. He walked slowly, lowering his weapon. As he reached them, Kiri looked up at him with wide, wet eyes. She didn't move. She didn't speak. He bent down beside them. Luma's breathing was weak. She had lost too much blood. The arrow had missed her heart, but only barely. The human pulled a small kit from his belt. He cut her clothing away from the wound and sprayed a glowing gel over it. It hissed and sizzled, sealing the wound for now. Kiri looked at her mother, then at the human. "Is she going to die?" she asked in a small, trembling voice. The human didn't answer. He reached out a hand to her gently. "I won't hurt you," he said, his voice low and calm. She looked at his hand. Slowly, she placed her small fingers in his. He lifted them, both, Luma in his arms, Kiri holding his side. He turned toward the forest and walked away, disappearing into the smoke from where he came. Behind him, the village continued to burn. But for these two, something had changed. Someone had come. Not from their world, not from their kind, but someone who stood between life and death, silent, deadly, and kind. And this was only the beginning. The forest was quiet again, but danger still hung in the air like smoke. The human moved through the trees quickly, carrying the alien mother Luma in his arms. Her daughter, Kiri, followed beside him, struggling to keep up but refusing to let go of his leg. He didn't speak much. His helmet covered his face, and his armor made soft clicking sounds as he walked. But his grip on Luma was gentle. He held her like something precious, not like a burden. Kiri looked up at him. "Who are you?" she asked. Still, he said nothing. They reached a rocky hill. Hidden behind a curtain of vines was a metal door, old and rusted, but still working. The human placed his hand on a scanner, and the door hissed open. Lights flickered on as they stepped inside a tunnel that led deep underground. Kiri blinked at the strange walls. They were smooth and cold, with glowing panels and humming machines. She had never seen anything like this. "Is this your home?" she whispered. "No," the human replied quietly. "Just a place I use." Inside the bunker, everything was clean but old. There was food sealed in strange boxes, tools hanging on the walls, and machines she couldn't understand. But what caught her eye was a bed just big enough for her. Mother got the human gently placed Luma down. She moaned softly, but didn't wake. "She needs help," Kiri said, her voice shaking. "I know," the human said. He opened a case and pulled out a round pod filled with glowing liquid. Carefully, he removed the arrow from Luma's back. She gasped, and Kiri held her hand tightly. Then, the human pressed the pod to the wound. It hissed and melted into her skin, sealing the injury. "She will live?" he said at last. Kiri cried. She didn't know if it was from fear, relief, or both. The human didn't move. He just stood there, watching her quietly. Hours passed. The mother slept, healing. Kiri sat beside her, holding her hand. The human sat against the wall, his weapon beside him, always alert. Finally, Kiri broke the silence. "Did you help us?" The human didn't answer at first. Then he said, "I've seen too many people die. I was told not to get involved anymore." "Then why did you?" He looked at her with tired eyes behind the visor. "Because I saw a mother give everything to protect her child, and no one else came." Kiri stared at him. "You're not like the stories." "What stories?" "The ones that say humans are monsters. That you destroy everything you touch." The human looked away. "Maybe some of us do." He reached into a pack and handed her a small wrapped bar. "Eat. You need strength." Kiri took it carefully and bit into it. It was sweet and soft, nothing like food from her village. She smiled a little, even through the tears. Suddenly, a red light blinked on the wall. The human stood up instantly. "What is it?" Kiri asked. "Trouble." He tapped a button on the wall, and a small screen showed figures moving through the forest. The raiders were back searching, and they were heading toward the bunker. The human's voice turned cold. "They're tracking us." Kiri looked at her sleeping mother, then at the door. "What will we do?" The human picked up his weapon. "We fight, or they'll find her again." "You'll fight alone?" "No," he said. "You'll stay?" "With your mother. I'll handle them." He walked to the door and paused. "Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone unless I come back." "But what if you don't?" He looked back at her. "Then you survive." And with that, he stepped into the darkness again. Outside, the smoke still clung to the trees. The human stood tall under the silver canopy, eyes glowing behind his visor. This wasn't his war. But tonight, he had made a choice not to stand, not to protect, to be the monster in the smoke. For someone else. Asterisk. Inside the underground shelter, Kiri sat beside her mother, holding her hand tightly. The lights buzzed softly overhead, and the room felt safe, but only for now. Luma's skin was pale, her breathing slow. The healing gel had stopped the bleeding, but she was still weak. Kiri whispered to her, telling her everything was going to be okay, even though she wasn't sure. She remembered the human's words. "Don't open the door unless I return." She stared at the heavy metal door. It felt like a wall between her and danger. But it also felt like a wall between her and him, the man who had saved them. Kiri didn't even know his name. She walked around the shelter, curious. There were machines everywhere, some blinking, some humming, and some sleeping like giant metal beasts. On one table, she found a photo. It was old and faded, but it showed a younger version of the human, standing beside other people in uniforms. They looked proud, strong. United. There was writing in a language she couldn't read. Beneath the photo, a strange patch was pinned. It showed a symbol of burning sun crossed by wings. Kiri turned her head when she heard something. A soft beep. Screen on the wall lit up, showing static. And then, a face. It was another human older, with sharp eyes and gray hair. He looked angry. Unit 09. This is command. Respond. He barked. No answer. The man on the screen narrowed his eyes. We have detected energy discharge in your zone. You were told to observe only. Explain. Kiri didn't understand everything, but one word made her heart freeze. Observe. That meant the human wasn't supposed to help. Was he being punished for saving them? Another voice came through the screen, softer, calmer. A woman this time. If you're still alive, return to your post. Mission priorities not to interfere with alien conflicts. Do not make this harder. Kiri stepped back, afraid to touch anything. The screen went dark. The human had broken orders. He had chosen them over his mission. Meanwhile, above ground, the human stood still beneath the trees. His armor was dark, but his presence was brighter than fire. The raiders had found tracks, footprints, and faint heat trails. They moved cautiously, whispering in their harsh language, weapons ready. The human knelt and placed a small cube on the ground. It blinked blue and then disappeared into the dirt. A trap. He moved to another spot, setting a second cube behind a fallen log. He knew how. They hunted. He knew how they thought, because once, not so long ago, he had hunted just like them. Back in the shelter, Luma stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. My child? She whispered. Kiri rushed to her side, tears filling her eyes. I'm here, Mama. You're okay. Luma smiled weakly. You're safe. Then she blinked, confused. Where are we? In a place the human brought us. He saved you. He fought the bad ones. Now he's outside, alone. Luma sat up slowly, wincing. We must help him. You're still hurt, Kiri said. I would rather die standing than live hiding, Luma replied. Outside, the first raider stepped into the trap. The ground exploded with a flash of light, and the raider was thrown back with a scream. Panic spread through the group. The human walked forward through the smoke, silent and unstoppable. Leave, he said, his voice like thunder, or be buried here. But the raiders didn't run. They attacked. Energy bolts lit the night. Arrows flew. Blades clashed. The human moved like a shadow fast, brutal, precise. He fought not for orders, not for war. He fought for a mother who had already given everything, and a little girl who still believed he would return. Back in the shelter, Luma stood, shaky but determined. We have to go to him. Kiri nodded. Together, they opened the door. Smoke poured in, but they didn't care, because even if they were weak, they would not let him face the darkness alone. The forest was now a battlefield. Again, the human stood in the middle of broken branches and firelit smoke. Around him, the last of the raiders attacked with rage and fear. Blades clashed against his armor. Arrows bounced off his helmet. One attacker leaped from a tree only to be caught mid-air and slammed to the ground. His breathing grew heavy. He was strong, but he was still one man. From the edge of the shelter's tunnel, Luma and Kiri stepped into the smoky woods. The trees whispered above them, as if warning them to go back. But they walked forward anyway. Luma limped slightly, her wound not fully healed. Her daughter stayed close, her small hand clutching her mother's tightly. Then they saw him, the human. His armor was scratched. Blood maybe not all has dripped from his gloves. 3 raiders lay motionless at his feet, and 2 more stood across from him. One was massive, taller than all the others. His armor was made of bone, and his eyes burned with hate. "You protect them?" The raider growled in a deep, broken voice. "These weak things?" The human didn't reply. He simply raised his weapon. But before he could fire, the giant raider threw a shock grenade. The explosion blasted the human backward. His weapon flew from his hand. Sparks flew from his chest plate. He didn't move. The bone-armored raider laughed. But then, a voice cut through the air. "Stay away from him." It was Luma. The raider turned in surprise. She stood, trembling but unafraid, with her daughter behind her. She held a long metal rod she'd taken from the shelter, an old tool, now used as a weapon. "I'm not afraid of you," she said, stepping forward. "You should be." The raider snarled. He charged, but before he reached her, a hand caught. His leg. The human. His visor cracked, armor smoking, but his grip was like steel. He pulled the raider down, then slammed his fist into the creature's helmet again and again. The bones cracked. The laughter stopped, and silence returned. Luma dropped the rod and rushed forward. "Are you alive?" she asked. The human groaned, still breathing. Kiri ran to him and hugged him tightly. "You came back," she whispered. "I said I would." He replied. Luma knelt beside him, touching his shoulder gently. "You fought for us, risked everything. Why?" The human sat up slowly. His helmet sparked. He reached up and removed it. Luma gasped softly. His face was scarred. A long burn crossed one side of his jaw. But his eyes? They were human and tired. Not with weakness, but with pain that had lived too long inside him. He looked at Luma. "Because once I had a daughter too." Luma's eyes widened. She didn't ask what happened to her. She didn't have to. He continued. "She died during a raid like this. I wasn't there to stop it, but this time I was back at the shelter." The alarm light blinked again. A signal. Another message. Luma helped the human walk back to the bunker. Kiri stayed close, silent, but her eyes never left him. Inside, the screen lit up. This time, it wasn't just a message. It was a live voice. "This is command. We know what you did, Unit 09. You disobeyed orders. You intervened in a Class 3 contact zone. Return immediately." The human didn't move. The voice continued. "You were meant to observe, not protect, not rescue. You broke protocol." He pressed the button. "I'm not coming back." The voice paused. "You'll be marked rogue. No protection. No home." He looked at Luma and Kiri. "I have one now." He shut off the screen. That night, they sat in the bunker. No alarms. No smoke. Just quiet breathing, the sound of boiling water. And healing. Kiri rested against the human's arm. Luma sat nearby, watching him. "I don't even know your name," she said. He smiled faintly. "Call me whatever you want." Kiri thought for a moment. "Can I call you, Guardian?" He nodded. "Once, I'd like that." And deep underground, in a forgotten shelter, a broken human became someone whole again. Asterisk. The shelter was quiet, but the human now called Guardian did not rest. His armor was damaged. His body was bruised. But his mind was awake, sharp, watching. Kiri slept beside her mother, curled in a blanket. Luma leaned against the wall, holding her daughter's hand, breathing calmly for the first time in days. But outside, trouble was growing. In the far forest, under a dark sky, a second group of raiders gathered. These were not the same ones. These were worse. They had received a message from the survivors. A human protects them. The new raider leader growled at the firelight. If it's a human, we bring fire. We burn everything. We leave nothing breathing. Back in the bunker, Guardian stood near a panel of lights. His visor showed something moving many things. Dozens. They were coming fast. Luma stepped beside him. They're coming again, aren't they? He nodded. More of them. Heavily armed. She looked at the cracked armor on his shoulder. You're not strong enough to fight them alone. He didn't answer. You'll die if you try, she said softly. He looked down at her, his eyes. Hard, but something inside was burning. Then I die with purpose. Luma stepped closer. Not alone. The shelter came alive. Old machines powered up. Lights glowed. Ancient systems that hadn't worked in years began to hum under Guardian's touch. What is this place really? Luma asked. He ran his hand across a control panel. A forgotten war bunker. Built by humans long ago. Never used. Until now. From a hidden door, he pulled out something wrapped in black cloth. He opened it. Inside was a full set of Terran elite armor. Sleek, dark, sharp. Luma stared. Is that yours? He nodded. It was. Long ago. Why did you stop using it? Because I didn't believe in the fight anymore. And now? He looked at Kiri, still asleep. Then at Luma. Now I do. Kiri woke to the sound of metal. She stepped into the main room and gasped. Guardian stood tall, armored from head to toe, glowing slightly in the dim light. He looked like a legend, like the stories the old ones told, but never truly believed. She whispered, You look like a hero. He looked at her gently. I'm just someone who got tired of watching. Before the sun rose, they moved. Guardian gave Luma a defense stick, strong, light, and fitted with a small energy charge. She tested it once, and it cracked the wall. Kiri stayed in the lower bunker, under lock. She wanted to come, but Guardian knelt beside her. I need you to guard this place, he said seriously. Kiri frowned. But I'm small. You're brave, he replied. And you're smarter than most soldiers I've known. That made her smile. Then he and Luma stepped out into the cold wind. They didn't have to wait long. Dozens of raiders came, marching, like shadows through the trees. They brought weapons, grenades, flamethrowers. Guardian walked forward. He activated his armor. Lights glowed at the edges. His voice echoed with power. This is your last warning. Turn around. The raiders laughed. Then fire filled the forest. The battle exploded. Guardian moved like lightning, dodging blasts, striking with deadly force. His new armor shimmered, absorbing hits that would kill anyone else. His weapon was fast blue beams, slicing through the dark. Beside him, Luma fought with fury. She didn't have armor, but she had something stronger, a reason. Every strike she made was for her daughter, for their future. They moved like one. Raider after raider fell, but there were too many. A blast threw Luma backward. She hit a tree. Hard and didn't rise. Guardian roared. He turned, eyes blazing red, and activated the final core inside his suit, the fire protocol. Energy surged through him. Flames burst from his back vents. He became a storm. Raiders screamed, some ran. Most didn't get far. The forest glowed red. Not with fire, but a man's fury. When it ended, smoke filled the sky again. But this time, it was not from fear. It was from justice. Guardian dropped to one knee beside Luma. She coughed and opened her eyes. You still with me? He asked. She smiled weakly. I am now. He helped her stand above them. The first rays of sunlight broke through the trees. For the first time, Luma felt hope. and for the first time in many years, Guardian felt peace. Asterisk smoke rose gently from the ground, curling through the trees like fog. The forest was quiet again, but not dead. This time, it was the silence of peace. Bodies of raiders lay across the ground, their weapons scattered like broken promises. The fires were gone, replaced by the golden light of dawn. Guardian stood at the edge of the hill, armor cracked, visor darkened, his breathing heavy through the helmet. Beside him, Luma leaned on a broken branch, her body sore, but her spirit alive. They watched the sunrise in silence. You stopped them, Luma said softly. We stopped them, Guardian replied. She looked at him. You're not just a warrior. He turned to her. What am I then? You're someone who remembered how to care. Back at the shelter, Kiri ran out when she saw them. Her little feet kicked up dust as she rushed forward. Mom, she cried, hugging Luma tightly. You're okay. Luma smiled and kissed the top of her daughter's head. Then Kiri turned to Guardian. She hugged his leg again like before, but this time without fear. You came back, she whispered. I always will, he said. Later that day, Guardian sat near the open bunker entrance, helmet off. His short hair moved gently in the breeze. He looked up at the sky, lost in thought. Luma joined him, sitting on a rock. She placed something in his hand. It was a small stone, with Kiri's drawing on it. A picture of the three of them, Guardian. Luma and Kiri standing under a sun. She made it while you were gone, Luma said. He stared at it for a long moment. No one's ever drawn me before. She said it was the only way to remember your face. In case you leave. He looked at her quietly. Should I leave? Luma hesitated. That's not my choice. But it's mine, he said, still looking at the drawing. He stood up. I was a soldier once, he said. Then I became a ghost. Now I want to be something better. Luma stood beside him. And what will you be now? He turned to her, and for the first time, his voice had warmth. Family. That night, a ship came. It wasn't from the raiders. It was human. A long, black transport vessel hovered above the forest, silent and waiting. A voice came through a speaker. Unit 09, you are marked rogue, but return now, and we will wipe your record. Final offer. Guardian looked at Luma. Then he looked at Kiri standing by the doorway, holding his old helmet like a toy. He tapped the communicator on his wrist. This is Guardian. I'm not coming back. A pause. You'll be hunted. I know. But why? His eyes didn't leave the little girl. Because this is the first time I've been found. The ship hovered for a moment. Then it turned. And left. The stars were clear that night. The sky above them wasn't filled with war. Only light. Inside the shelter, Luma lit a small fire. Kiri lay curled in her blanket, sleeping peacefully. Guardian sat beside the flame. Luma handed him a warm drink. Will you stay here forever? She asked. He smiled. Forever's too big, but today, yes. She nodded. Then whispered, Thank you for saving us. He looked at her, and for the first time, his voice was gentle. You saved yourselves. I just stood in the way of the last arrow. They sat together in the quiet. Smoke drifted from the fire. But it didn't mean danger anymore. Now it meant warmth. And somewhere, in a galaxy filled with war and silence, a human who had once been lost had found something to protect again. Not a mission, not a battlefield, but a family. Asterisk.